Hello everybody, and welcome to another WizzWare YouTube. This time we're going to be talking about how to set up your GoPro Hero so that you have an epic motorcycle adventure. Now, if you've spent any time planning a motorcycle adventure and you want to do any type of moto vlogging, this is going to be your setup. We've been using our moto vlog setup now for several years, and we have thousands and thousands of miles on it. It's a pretty simple setup, but it does work. Well, all right, this is what you're going to need to get going. You're going to need to get your GoPro Hero. We're going to run through these equipment really fast and we'll go over them in detail. It doesn't matter if it's a 10, 11, 12, or 13. They'll all work the same. So just we'll talk, like I said, a little bit more about those a little later in detail. You're going to need your media mod from the GoPro, or for the GoPro. This is a GoPro product and you absolutely have to have it if you want to do any type of vlogging. All right. Then you're going to need a helmet. I'm assuming that you already have a helmet, but if you're looking to change to an adventure style riding as opposed from a street riding or whatever, you may be looking at a new helmet. If you're looking at a new helmet, you're also going to look at a chin mount for that helmet. And just right off the bat, we're going to tell you to go to chinmounts.com, and they 3D print these things, and they're very stout, and they will have a specific one for your helmet. So that may influence the type of helmet that you're getting. All right. Now, to go into that chin mount, you're going to need the GoPro helmet mount. All right. We'll go into that a little bit later too. And then, of course, you're going to need your microphone. You're going to need your SD cards, right? There you go. And there's just obviously just a case. You don't need that, but it does help to organize them. And as you can see, we've put our adventure on there. And then of course you're going to need your battery bank with your cords. Now we're not going to talk a lot about cords here, but definitely just don't get the cord that comes with something. Get a good solid cord, because all cords are not considered equal, right? And you definitely don't want to be having an issue with a cord when you're out on the trail. All right, so let's jump right in. Now, when you go to get your GoPro camera, this is what we're going to suggest. We know that you can go to Amazon, and we know that you can probably get this thing in like a day. And maybe that's what you have to do. We suggest that you go to GoPro.com and buy from GoPro. And the reason is this. One, their prices are usually a little bit better than Amazon. But two, they also have the GoPro subscription. And that subscription is a no questions asked replacement policy. And remember, these things get hammered. They get dropped in the mud, they get hit with sticks, you crash, you do all kinds of stuff with them. So get that GoPro subscription, and it will, probably more than likely save you. And yes, we have used that subscription. They just asked us a few questions, ran us through a few scenarios, and it was not working the way that they thought it should. Boom, we had a new one in the mail the next day. And it was not an inquisition of any type. It was just, oh, it's not working. Okay, send it back and we will get you, and we got you a new one. Like I said, they sent it back right away. All right. And as far as like the newer GoPros, if you're looking at a 13 or whatever, sure, you can go ahead and get that. These 10s are still available. It really, on Amazon they're still available, but on GoPro they've obviously moved to the new model. But it's a good solid camera, and these are the guys to beat. So you can stick with them. Everybody has, there's no perfect camera out there. So just know that you're going to spend hours and hours if you kind of get into that rabbit hole. Anyway, moving on. One of the things that you are going to need, and if you are used to the older GoPros, this is something that's a little new. It's called a media mod, and you're going to need it. And it basically fits over your camera. It does not provide any, basically, it might provide a little extra protection, but it's basically for two things. One, and they're right here. One is for power, and two is for audio. that is the necessity that you need this thing for. It does not provide any extra waterproofing, and actually probably lessens the waterproofing. But we have had this in some serious downpours and not had any issues in it. But once again, get that GoPro subscription. It offers you a few advantages, but also that replacement camera is super important. And that thing just fits just like this. It pushes in like that, snaps down, and there's kind of your housing. The old GoPros used to have like a plastic housing that you couldn't actually even fit any cords in. But this one has, obviously the ports for audio and power, which you are gonna need. All right. Now, moving on. All right, we have basically your helmet. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on these helmets, but you're looking for a good middle of the line helmet. This is the best you're going to find. This is a Bell MX9 Adventure. We did take off our visor, but we don't have any gripes with this helmet. It's got a lot of airspace in front of your face, and as you can see, we have our Cardo microphone in there and our regular microphone. We do have a dead cat, but you don't always need those. And so it is a great helmet. Our only gripe with this helmet is that it is a little bit louder. And that was taking off the visor did help with that a little bit, but it is just a little louder of a helmet. Other than that, it's a great helmet. So if you're looking for a good middle of the line helmet, go with this baby. All right, moving on. Your chin mount. Now, these are 3D printed from a chinmounts.com website that has been around for a little bit of time now. And they have a bunch of different mounts for different helmets. And go there, and if you're looking at a new helmet, go there and see if they have that mount for that helmet, because that could influence the type of helmet that you get. But more than likely, like if you're thinking of an Arai or something like this, they're probably going to have that for you. So, check it out. Shipping is great. It was just like 1 or 2 days before they shipped it, and then just regular shipping time. We will say that these do just go on with a 3DM. So the fail point is between the 3M double stick tape. It's not at the actual chin mount. They do send you good instructions on how to put this on, and this particular one has been in freezing conditions. It's been in over 100-degree conditions, and it's been in very wet conditions, and it has stayed in place. But we do always just run a nice a tether around it, just to make sure that it doesn't fall off. We've taken the tether out for the video here, but it doesn't need to be in a big tether. It can just a nice strong basically string. It doesn't need to be a nylon to hold 1,000 pounds. It just needs to be just enough to hold your GoPro in a situation where it might fall off. All right. Now, to go in that chin mount, you're going to want, excuse me here, you need to have the GoPro helmet mount. Now, there are other brands, but per our review, the other brands were not made as well and made out of a cheaper plastic and didn't fit directly and snugly into your helmet, your chin mount, right? And when you're out on the trail, 150 miles from nowhere, you do not want that going bad. And you can see that this is pretty stout. It doesn't wiggle, and it has always been a good part for us. I know that there's cheaper ones, but you get what you pay for it at that point. So we spent the extra $20 and have not ever looked back. All right, going on to the next thing here. We're going to go to your microphone. Now, there are several things that you need to know about the microphone, and you can go round and round on these things. All right. But one of the most important things about these is that you're going to want a 2-ring. There's 2 black rings in this one. You probably can't see it from the video, but there's 2 black rings on this. That's the one you want. You do not want the 3 black ring. That will not work in your GoPro without an adapter. And let me tell you, those adapters throw all kinds of bugs into your GoPro. So you're gonna lose your recording if you use an adapter. You're gonna lose the audio. And there's so many vloggers out there that have lost audio to their epic adventure. And let me tell you, that really is a bummer when that happens. And you want to avoid that at all costs. Now, GoPro does not make a microphone. So who do you choose? Well, we chose a competitor's camera's microphone, which was a Drift Ghost. And it's not an expensive microphone, but it works very well. So go ahead and get that. And it as far as routing is concerned, it's just like kind of like routing your own your Cardo. Just through the pads, kind of use up the extra space. You're going to want to, let's see if I can hold it up here. Just give yourself a little bit of room as you come out, and you can have your camera in place so that you know how far you need to push your or pull your RCA plug here. You don't want it too tight because then it will pull out, and that's not good because then you obviously lose your audio, and you can't necessarily tell if you lose your audio. So just make sure it's not a hard install. It's not even hard. It's just as easy as a Cardo, maybe even easier. Just route that up through there. You'll come up with some sort of solution for putting your microphone in there like we have. We just have a little bit of double stick tape in there, and it's worked well for us. So you'll come up with your own solution, these things do come with a clip, and kind of a clip within a clip, and we actually used the secondary clip, took that off, and that's what we actually stuck in there, kind of on some Velcro double stick type of stuff, and it just stays in place. It's good. So that's it. Now that is the basis of your setup. All right. Now there's some key things that you need to know beyond that setup, and we're going to go over them with you here. The first is, how do you keep that GoPro going all day long, right? You're on your epic, motorcycle adventure, whether it's a BDR or just a long motorcycle trip, how do you keep that GoPro going all day long? And the answer is with a battery bank. This is a 25,800 milliamp battery bank. It's not anything super special, other than it is a larger one. And here's the secret that you need to know. All right, for these battery banks, you obviously have two batteries. One is in the GoPro itself. Let me pull this out here. All right. And the other is the battery bank. Now, this little GoPro, what we have found is this little battery here will heat up if you only use just this battery. All right. It will heat up and it will turn your camera off because of the heat, especially if you're in a hot weather, like 100-degree weather or whatever. So you want to be very careful with that. That's where the secondary bank comes in. If you use this secondary bank, it will bypass this little blue battery and go right into your GoPro. You don't have any heat hardly at all. And that is the setup. Now, one thing that you need to know is that don't charge this blue battery up all the way. We like to keep it like around 10%, even less. We've had it completely dead and just charged it with our battery bank for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then turn the GoPro on and it'll keep running. The reason you do not want to charge this blue battery all the way is because if you do, this GoPro and this battery will tell your battery bank that it doesn't need it. And when it does that, it puts this battery bank to sleep. So after 20 minutes, when this little tiny blue battery runs out, this will be asleep and your video will go off. Okay, so only charge this to like maximum of 10%. You can go a little higher, but it doesn't make a difference on that part. And like I said, low is fine too. Many times I've been at 1%, 0%, 2%. You just give it a couple minutes and it gets enough buffer in there just to keep charging, and it just kind of like bypasses this battery altogether. That is a big secret, because if you do that, you can run this battery all day long and not have an issue with power at all. Now, how much is this battery bank going to give you? This battery bank is going to give you all day, plus enough to probably charge your phone at night. Often we'll charge our Zoleo and our iPhone at night off the remainder of this. So our power plan for when we're traveling and out either on the road or especially when we're on the trail, is that we charge one of these under our seat, and then we use one during the day, and then we just flip-flop them every other day. All right. Now, one caveat with that: do not leave one of these batteries charging in your motorcycle overnight, because if you do, it's very possible that you'll have a dead battery in the morning. A lot of these new motorcycles are very electronic heavy and need a good start. They need a good amperage. So that can definitely take away. So only when you're riding, and then unplug it for the night, and then just get ready to use it the next morning. All right. So that's a very important tip right there. Now, the other thing that comes up is how many hours will you get out of an SD card? All right. And it's a question that everybody's going to ask, and it always comes up. Now, we predominantly use the 256 gigabyte cards. They're kind of in the right price point. They're not, they want a lot more for the 512, and they want the same for the 64s. So we go with the 256. And what that is a rule of thumb that gives us about a day's worth of video. Running at about 60 frames per second, you're going to hit somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 hours of video. That bumps up if you take it down to 30 frames per second. But what we do is that, what we suggest is that you run it at 60. That takes kind of the motion. It puts more of more vividness into the motion. All right. Now, and so what we typically do, our typical rule of thumb is to run one of these cards for every day of our ride, and throw one extra card in at the end. So that means that would take up the slack. So that means if you're going on a 4-day ride, throw in 5 cards, and that usually gets you really close to what you need. Okay. So with that, we want to throw in a couple more things, because these GoPro cameras here, they do have the ability to film at a 5K and 5.3K resolution. Now, that is quite a lot of data. And to be fair, a lot of computers cannot handle that much data. And so you're going to have to, and this kind of goes to your pre-rides. Let's see if I can, there it is. That goes to your pre-rides to dial this in. All right. You're going to want to, just don't get it the day and go, right? Try to do some pre-rides so you can get that set up. Because there's definitely a little bit of a learning process. So make sure, don't be one of those guys that says, I'm going to do it at 5K or 5.3K and just deal with the other extra cards. First of all, media players won't even play the 5K. So you have that issue to deal with. Another thing, some computers won't play with the 5K. And if you're talking about just a 4-day adventure with 5 cards, you're talking about over a terabyte worth of information. So that becomes a very big part, a very big issue that people deal with. And that's why a lot of times your adventure gets stuck on a card. Now, through that process, one of the things that we're going to tell you is if you run into this issue where you have adventures on cards and you want to be able to see them, WizzWare has developed a process for that. It's called OneReel, and you basically send us your card and we process it end to end, and you end up with a full-length video that you can enjoy and sit down, sit down and enjoy with your family and friends. And so it's a great process, and it really, for those people that are really frustrated with the the file system on GoPro, and dealing with the sheer amounts of data, this is a great process for you. So anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that. And our OneReel was developed out of that sheer frustration. Um, and now we are able to enjoy our videos a lot. So leaving you with one last thing here. And this goes back to your pre-rides. As you can see, in this case right here, the camera looks like it's angled back. Like this, it's kind of angled back a little bit. And you got to remember, and these, like I said, goes into your pre-rides, and the angle may be different for you, but for us, we push it all the way back, all right? And that way, when your head is up like this, you have a great picture of the horizon. If you put it forward and you put your head down, then you're kind of shooting down. So angle that thing back, and you'll be surprised of the picture you'll get. Um, and that is kind of the way that it has worked the best for us. Now, so basically that's it. From this point, once it's mounted, you just plug in your audio cable. You plug in your power cable per what we discussed. Turn on your GoPro, and you're good to go. And it will just run. Um, so there you go. We hope that this has helped you. We try to keep it short and non-technical, as you can see. I think that you can now go and get your parts and just put it right on your helmet. All your big decisions have been made, and all the looking into the individual parts has been made for you. And like I said, this has been on thousands of miles. It's been on the Arizona BDR, Idaho BDR, Washington BDR, as well as other trips in between. And it's a solid system, and it will serve you very well. So anyway, there is really just one more thing left to do, and that's let's ride.